Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to English Life Stories. Today, we are going to listen to the story of Michael Jordan, the boy who faced failure, worked harder than everyone else, and became one of the greatest basketball players in history. This is not only a story about sport, it is a story about practice, mindset, family, and never giving up. So relax, listen carefully, and enjoy the story. One day, in Brooklyn, New York, a baby boy was born. His name was Michael Jeffrey Jordan, but the world would later know him simply as Michael Jordan. When Michael was still very young, his family moved to North Carolina. That is where he grew up, in a home filled with discipline, competition, and strong family values. Michael's father was named James. His mother was named Dolores. They worked hard. They wanted their children to be strong, not only strong in body, but strong in character. Michael grew up with brothers and sisters, and in that house, competition was everywhere. Games, challenges, arguments, small battles between children. Michael did not like to lose. Even as a child, losing made him angry. Not a little angry, very angry. Because deep inside, he wanted to prove himself. He wanted people to see him. He wanted to show that he could be great. At first, basketball was not the only sport in his life. He also played baseball. He enjoyed many games. But slowly, basketball became special. There was something about the court, the sound of the ball, the movement, the speed, the jump, the challenge. Basketball gave Michael a place where he could test himself, a place where he could fight without speaking, a place where effort mattered. But young Michael was not yet a legend. He was not yet flying through the air. He was not yet winning championships. He was still learning, still growing, still trying. And then came one of the most famous, painful moments in his early life. When he was in high school, Michael wanted to make the varsity basketball team. He wanted to be chosen. He wanted to prove that he belonged. But he did not make the varsity team at that time. He was placed on the junior varsity team. For Michael, it felt like rejection. It felt like failure. It felt like someone was saying, "You are not good enough yet." That moment hurt him deeply. He went home. He felt embarrassed. He felt disappointed. Maybe he felt angry. But this is where his story becomes powerful. Because Michael had a choice. He could accept the pain and stop dreaming. Or he could use the pain as fuel. And Michael chose fuel. He began to practice harder than before. He trained. He played. He worked on his skills. He pushed his body. He pushed his mind. Every day, he remembered that feeling. The feeling of being left out. The feeling of not being chosen. The feeling of not being enough. And instead of letting that feeling break him, he let it build him. This is one of the most important lessons in Michael Jordan's life. Failure did not stop him. Failure woke him up. It made him hungry. It made him focused. It made him dangerous. Because after that moment, Michael did not only want to play basketball, he wanted to dominate. He wanted to become impossible to ignore. And slowly, people began to notice. He became better, faster, stronger, more confident. The boy who had been disappointed started to rise. The boy who had been hurt started to grow. The boy who wanted to prove himself was becoming a player. But this was only the beginning, because talent can open a door, but discipline keeps it open. Michael Jordan was learning something early. If you want greatness, you must be willing to work when no one is watching. You must be willing to practice when others rest. You must be willing to feel pain and keep going. And that mindset would follow him for the rest of his life. The lesson from part 1 is simple. Sometimes rejection is not the end. Sometimes rejection is the beginning. Sometimes the moment that hurts you becomes the moment that changes you. Michael Jordan did not become great because life was easy. He became great because failure made him work harder. And the boy who once felt rejected was only beginning to become a legend. After high school, Michael Jordan's dream became stronger. He was no longer the boy who only wanted to prove himself. Now, he wanted to become great. He wanted to test himself against better players, stronger players, faster players, players who also had dreams. And this took him to college basketball. Michael went to the University of North Carolina. There, he was surrounded by talent. He was not alone anymore. Everyone could play. Everyone wanted minutes. Everyone wanted attention. So Michael had to grow again. He had to listen. He had to learn. He had to become part of a team. At first, he was still young, still learning, still discovering how hard the game could be. But Michael had something that made him different. He wanted to improve every single day. Not sometimes, not only when people watched, every day. In practice, he pushed himself. In games, he stayed focused. And slowly, his confidence grew. Then came a big moment. A moment that helped introduce him to the basketball world. In 1982, North Carolina played in the national championship game. The game was close. The pressure was heavy. The crowd was loud. And near the end, Michael took a shot. A big shot. A shot that helped win the game. He was still a young player. But in that moment, people saw something. They saw calm. They saw courage. They saw a player who was not afraid of pressure. For many athletes, pressure breaks them. But for Michael, pressure became fuel. He wanted the big moment. He wanted the difficult shot. He wanted the challenge. Because, deep inside, Michael believed that greatness was not built in comfort. Greatness was built in pressure. After college, Michael entered the NBA. He joined the Chicago Bulls. At that time, the Bulls were not the powerful team people remember today. They were still searching, still struggling, still trying to become important. And Michael arrived with energy, speed, confidence, and hunger. When he stepped onto the court, people could feel something different. He moved fast. He jumped high. He attacked the basket like he was flying. Fans watched him and felt amazed. He was exciting. He was fearless. He was different. But the NBA was not easy. The players were stronger. The games were harder. The pressure was bigger. And Michael had to learn that talent was not enough. Talent can make people notice you, but discipline keeps you alive. Every night, other teams tried to stop him. They pushed him. They hit him. They challenged him. They wanted to see if this young star was real. And Michael answered with work. He practiced harder. He trained harder. He studied the game. He studied opponents. He looked for weaknesses. He looked for ways to become better. But even as he became great, he still lost. This is important. Michael Jordan did not win immediately. He scored many points. He became famous. He became exciting. But his team did not win championships right away. And for Michael, that was painful, because he hated losing. Losing stayed in his mind. It followed him home. It stayed with him at night. It made him think, what do I need to change? How can I become stronger? How can I lead my team? At first, some people said Michael was only a great individual player. They said he could score, but could he win? They said he was amazing, but could he make a team great? Those words hurt. But again, Michael used pain as fuel. He worked on his body. He became stronger. He worked on defense. He became more complete. He learned to trust teammates. He learned that greatness was not only about scoring. It was about leadership. It was about sacrifice. It was about making others better. And slowly, the Chicago Bulls began to change. The team became stronger. The players began to believe. The city began to believe. And Michael's mindset became the heart of everything. He trained with intensity. He demanded effort. He wanted everyone around him to care as much as he cared. Sometimes, this made him difficult. Sometimes, his teammates felt pressure. But Michael believed that winning required everything. Not half effort, not excuses. Everything. There were painful losses. There were playoff defeats. There were moments when stronger teams beat him, especially the Detroit Pistons. They played physical basketball. They hit hard. They made the game uncomfortable. They tried to stop Michael with force, and for some time, they succeeded. The Bulls lost. Michael felt the pain. But again, he did not stop. He went back to work. He built his body. He prepared his mind. He studied how to win against strong defense. He learned that if he wanted to reach the top, he had to survive the hardest road. And this became one of the biggest lessons of his career. You do not become great by avoiding pain. You become great by walking through it. Every loss taught him something. Every failure made him sharper. Every doubt made him hungrier. The boy who had once been rejected in high school was now becoming a professional who refused to stay down. He was no longer only talented. He was dangerous. Because he had discipline. He had memory. He remembered every failure, every insult, every loss. And he used all of it. Not to complain, not to quit, but to rise. This is the real Michael Jordan mindset. He did not see failure as a wall. He saw failure as information. If he lost, he asked why. If he missed, he practiced more. If someone beat him, he came back stronger. And slowly, the world began to understand. Michael Jordan was not just a player who could fly. He was a player who could suffer. learn, and return better. That is what made him special. Not only the talent, not only the jump, not only the famous number, but the mindset, the refusal to accept defeat as the final answer. The lesson from part 2 is simple. Practice builds skill. Pain builds strength. Failure builds wisdom. And mindset decides how far you go. Michael Jordan lost many times before he won big, but every loss became part of his greatness. He was not finished. He was getting closer. After years of practice, after painful losses, after being beaten again and again, Michael Jordan finally reached a new level. He was no longer just an exciting player. He was becoming a winner. The Chicago Bulls became stronger. His teammates became better. The team began to believe, and Michael began to lead them with confidence. Then, the championships came. Not one, not two, but again and again. Michael Jordan became the face of basketball. People watched him all over the world. His number, 23, became legendary. His shoes became famous. His name became powerful. But behind the fame, there was still pressure. Heavy pressure. Everyone expected him to win. Every game mattered. Every mistake was watched. Every loss became news. And still, Michael kept going. He played with fire. He played with focus. He played like losing was personal. But then, life gave him a pain bigger than basketball. His father, James Jordan, was killed. This broke Michael deeply. His father had been important in his life, a guide, a supporter, a strong voice, and suddenly, he was gone. For Michael, basketball did not feel the same. The game that once gave him energy now felt heavy. So he made a shocking decision. He stepped away from basketball. At the top of the world, he left. Many people were surprised. Some people did not understand. But Michael was grieving. He needed space. He needed time. He needed to breathe. Then, he tried something different. Baseball. It was a sport his father loved. And maybe, playing baseball made Michael feel closer to him. But baseball was not easy. He was no longer the greatest player on the field. He had to learn again. He had to struggle again. He had to feel like a beginner again. Some people laughed. Some people criticized him. They said, "Why is Michael Jordan doing this?" But Michael was not only chasing success, he was healing. He was searching. He was trying to understand life after loss. Then, after time away, something inside him changed again. The fire returned. The love for basketball returned. And Michael came back. His message was simple. "I'm back." 2 words, but the world understood. Michael Jordan had returned. But returning was not enough. He had to prove himself again. He had been away. People wondered, could he still dominate? Could he still win? Could he still be Michael Jordan? At first, it was not perfect. There were mistakes. There were losses. There was doubt. But Michael did what he always did. He worked. He trained. He focused. He came back stronger. And then, the Bulls began winning again. More championships, more great moments, more history. Michael showed the world that greatness can return, even after pain, even after loss, even after stepping away. He became a symbol of focus, confidence, discipline, and mental strength. But his story is not only about winning, it is also about what winning costs. Michael pushed himself hard. He pushed others hard. He wanted perfection. He demanded effort. He did not accept excuses. This made him great, but it also made his journey difficult. Greatness is beautiful from far away, but close up, greatness is pressure, sacrifice, loneliness, pain, long hours, hard choices, and a mind that never relaxes. Michael Jordan became one of the greatest athletes in history, not because he never failed, but because failure never stopped him. He was cut down. He rose. He was beaten. He learned. He lost. He came back. He felt pain. He kept moving. That is why people remember him. Not only because he could fly, not only because he could score, not only because he won rings, but because he showed what a strong mindset can do. His life teaches us that failure is not final. Rejection is not the end. Pain can become power. Practice can become confidence. And discipline can turn a dream into greatness. So remember this. You may lose today. You may fail today. People may doubt you today. But if you keep working, if you keep learning, if you refuse to give up, your story can still change. Michael Jordan was not born a champion. He became one. Day by day, practice by practice, failure by failure. And that is why he is called the man who refused to lose. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story and learned something meaningful. Michael Jordan's life reminds us that greatness is not built in one day. It is built through practice, failure, discipline, and the courage to keep going. If you like calm and powerful stories like this, please subscribe to English Life Stories and support the channel. Keep listening, keep learning, and keep growing. See you in the next story.